Hello there, and it's time now to have a look at what's making headlines on the business scene. Before we go to the details of the stories we have for you today, here's what to expect on your copy of today's Business Daily. We begin, of course, with the front page where we have a new law by the Lands Ministry to stop automatic renewals of land leases or extension of lease terms, and a move that is also expected to free up land concentrated for a few individuals. That's a lead story on the economy and the politics segment. We look at the trade mediation that could be for the next frontier of solving corporate business disputes, going by the recently revealed statistics. Over 80 cases having been solved within just 1 month. A lot more to expect on the money markets, where Safaricom and the EABL are the main counters that are leading to the top market capitalization. And last but not least, having a look at the money market segment and the corporate section, where we expect an increase of pay of about 761 Chandarana employees expected to receive a pay hike. This is amidst, of course, employees of Nakumatt supermarkets who have not received their May packs. Also a story included on your copy of the Business Daily. And the Capital Markets Authority has today clarified that it has not received any formal announcement by the Kenya Commercial Bank to buy National Bank of Kenya. The regulator says in a statement that no regulatory filings have been made to CMA by KCB Group. Further, it says that no confirmation of the existence of such a transaction has been received. Now, KCB Group made known its intention to acquire National Bank of Kenya, a move that is expected to cement the bank's position as the lead in asset base. In earlier report, the bank proposed to Treasury to take over National Bank, a move by KCB seen to benefit from NBK's clientele, who are largely state corporations and government agencies termed less risky compared to the retail clients. Now, the letter by CMA is aimed at calling on the investors of the funds to exercise caution. Now, speaking of investors, yesterday, National Bank's traded 4.5 million shares. That's on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and closed the day at about 10 shillings and 70 cents per share. And of course, it's that cautionary statement looking at, how many shares that were traded. Actually, National Bank was the top trading share yesterday on the NSE. And earlier today, the Capital Markets Authority had a presser. And to discuss these matters and more, we're now joined by the Director of Policy and Strategy. That's Luke Ombati. Luke, if you can hear us, what was the meat of your discussion? And if you could kindly just delve a bit deeper, when you say that KCB did not reach out to you for regulatory approvals, just a bit more details on this.
Okay, thank you. I think just as has been indicated in the cautionary announcement, it's just simply that we've been hearing about the transaction in the media report, through media reports, and we haven't got, according to our regulatory requirements, there should be a filing made to that effect, being a material information. So we were just clarifying that we have not received that, and therefore investors need to exercise caution when dealing with either KCB or National Bank shares.
Maybe look, KCB alluded to media, of course, reports that they actually made that formal request to Treasury. What we're meant to understand is perhaps being a regulator, you might have been copied into any correspondence with Treasury. Was that not the case?
No, I'll just stick to the statement, if you don't mind, as it is, that we have not received regulatory filings.
Great. Just looking at your statement, if you could just maybe kind of give a bit of more detail onto when you mean that what investors should exercise caution into how they're trading with these stocks. Could you kindly clarify on that?
Okay, I think it's self-explanatory. We're just saying, be aware that this has not been formally filed with the authority as required by the applicable regulations.
Great. And this lastly, so where do we take it from here? Because you are coming in a few days after the announcement has been made. And of course, this is trickled down to the investors. I don't know, future forward, what do we expect from the regulator? And is there maybe perhaps a meeting of the two banks and yourselves to clarify on this issue?
Okay, you'll see from the last sentence in that cautionary statement that an appropriate announcement shall be made in the event that the transaction is filed with the authority. Mm-hmm. So if the transaction actually exists, they will file with us.
All right, Luke Ombati there. Thank you so much for speaking with us. That's the director of...
Just a clarification, my name is Luke Ombara.
Luke Ombara. Well noted. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And of course, just giving more details on that planned acquisition by KCB International Bank. Of course, insisting and saying that no formal arrangement has been made or formal communication has been made to the Capital Markets Authority. And of course, we'll be staying with that story later on the broadcast. And of course, getting more details on what transpired earlier today during the press conference. Well, moving on, have you watched a video or seen some posts online saying that some of the rice being sold in Kenya is actually recycled plastic? Well, this is false and baseless, and that's according to the Kenya Bureau of Standards. The Quality and Standards Agency has spoken to address the growing fears and concerns among its consumers days after some of the affected brands had already come out to deny the claims. Now, KEBS says that what the video shows is a common process often conducted by manufacturers when recycling plastic. The Bureau adds that all imports are tested in the country of origin. Those making the claims have been asked to provide the relevant information to the standards body. So let's now join Alex Mwangi on a tour of the Kenya Bureau of Standards headquarters. That's in industrial area. Alex Mwangi, over to you now. Tell us, has KEBS clarified on this issue of, plastic rice, I should say?
Laban.
Yes, go ahead, Alex.
I can hear you very well, Laban, and we are right here at the KEBS headquarters in South Sea, and what is taking place is basically the event to launch some of the products or equipment that have been sponsored by the European Union has just ended. And these are equipments that are involved in the Standard and Market Access Program. Basically what is happening here is that they were launching some products that, or rather some equipment that was bought by the EU through sponsorship from the EU. And that equipment is meant to help KEBS be able to check on basically maybe anything that may be dangerous to foodstuff that Kenya plans to export. So KEBS has been empowered to have this equipment. It's quite expensive equipment, costing a number of some millions of euros, which are hundreds of millions of Kenya shillings. And this is equipment that is expected to enhance KEBS' capacity to check on food and agricultural and livestock stuff. Just to give you an example, is that they have talked of French beans which had been denied access to the EU, and with this equipment that has been bought now, we are going to be able to have equipment. We are going to be able to export foodstuffs such as French beans to the EU. Just again, you need to remember that the EU is one of Kenya's largest export markets. It accounts for 25% of what Kenya exports and is also the largest importer of Kenya's horticultural products. So it's right now, the queue behind me is just a queue for lunch, but they have just launched the Standard and Markets Access Program here at KEBS, which is sponsored by the European Union and other stakeholders as well, such as UNIDO. They have also launched a business management plan for KEBS, and it is expected that it is going to improve the services and the efficiency of KEBS as an institution. One last thing, Laban, is that they have talked about the PS for agriculture. That is, Richard Lesiampe has talked about the issue of rice, and he says that there is no fake rice in the country, and that KEBS is able, if in case there is any fake rice, it will be able to detect that. But so far, he has assured Kenyans that there is no fake rice. Back to you, Laban.
Thank you very much, Alex. I was worried you're not going to clarify on that issue of fake rice. But yes, we'll leave you at it. As you said, there's a queue out there for lunch, so maybe you should grab yourself some lunch. Moving on, as Kenya boasts of its improvement in ease of doing business, there remains insufficient data on the impact of the reforms on its largest employer and a significant contributor to grow the small and medium enterprises. This means that the potential of these firms is undertapped and their contribution is limited. That's in addition to the increased struggle to access loans from banks. However, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance is seeking to work with the government for a way forward.
Small and medium enterprises are the cog that keeps Kenya's engine running. They hire the most Kenyans and contribute significantly to economic growth. In the indices that measure the ease of doing business in the country, however, statistics on SMEs do not give a clear picture of how well reforms are impacting them.
The most important thing, and it has been asked, is it being felt down with Wanjiku? That's the most important thing.
So we want to push, again in collaboration with the small business, the SME arm in the Ministry of Trade, to how we create an index as well for small businesses. What is it like to do business as a small business in Kenya?
The existence of this situation presents some irony given that the government and private sector have over the years been increasingly hyping up and emphasizing the need to support SMEs. The unavailable statistics to measure the trade environment for the firms would ideally be used to make decisions regarding them. In recent months, SMEs have faced an uphill task in securing funding, owing to the interest rate cap law which was meant to see such businesses benefit from lower costs of capital.
Bank lending to micro and small and medium-sized enterprises, that's MSMEs, has fallen 5.7% between August last year and April this year. Even though actually small banks have increased lending to this sector. So if you want to know who has reduced their lending to this sector, of course it is the large banks that have done this. This is a concern because this is really where job creation is and will take place. This is really where output, the potential for growth in output is and will take place.
Building and construction is among the sectors where reforms are being undertaken to make it easier for investors to realize better gains. Last year, the sector saw the number of employed persons go up by 10.1% to 163,000, while cement construction increased by 10.4% to 6,302 tons. The value of loans and advances from banks, however, declined by 1.4% to 104.8 billion shillings.
That architects do not need to have the requirement to take physical plans to the Nairobi City Council or county offices for approval. That can all now be done electronically.
The public and private sector officials spoke during a forum to discuss the ease of doing business. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And Lifebuoy targets to reach over 200,000 children in the recently launched 5-hand wash campaign that's in Kenya. This marks phase 2 of the campaign, which has been rolled out courtesy of Unilever and the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education says that the campaign will enable children to be healthy and in turn increasing productivity in the schools. Now, plans are underway to also ensure that the schools are child-friendly by enhancing hygiene. Unilever says that in 2015, more than 5.9 million children under the age of 5 years succumbed to preventable diseases such as diarrhea. Statistics also shared by World Health Organization and UNICEF, where children below 5 years are more likely, that's at 14 times more likely, to die before the age of 5 than children in developed nations. Now, in this campaign, it also targets to reach about 1 billion people in Africa.
The good news is we have the solution, and the solution is hand washing with soap. It's a very simple habit, but it makes a huge difference to public health. And today, that's a solution that's in your hands. So that's really, really important for us. An important message that you today are going to be the role models.
Since 2010, Lifebuoy has reached more than 337 million people across 28 countries in Africa. Quality education is to make sure that the children are healthy, they wash hands, they eat well, they sleep well, they are able to reason well, they can run during the co-curricular activities. This is what quality education is about.
And soon after he was named chairman, Kasim Omar, the new chair of the East African Business Council, has gone straight into work. And of course, him now commenting on what he's going to do exactly about the non-tariff barriers, which is basically trade inhibitors between trade relations between the East African nations. So take a listen.
Almost all NTBs in the region, they are anchored in the law. Even a good law, if it's badly implemented, becomes a bad law and it transforms into an NTB. There is no such a thing as an NTB that is imposed by the private sector unless it is done in collaboration with the policymakers. So it is the laws that we are talking about, and we are asking the implementers of the law to agree with us.
Well, that's it for the day's business news. At this very hour, of course, we are working around the clock to ensure that you're updated on the latest. But that's it from this end. My name is Laban Clifford Serio. Trevor, it's over to you. Well, as you realize, well, the Capital Markets Authority is quite tight-lipped and sticking to the script, ensuring they do not comment further on that buyout deal between KCB and National Bank.
Absolutely, and you do completely understand. What I still am a bit perplexed about is the issue of plastic rice in the market. What do you make of that? Where did this whole situation start from?
Well, I think this is all advent when we talk about fake news and, of course, social media hype. But perhaps this was spotted in various sectors. And notice that also KEBS has also clarified on that issue. And with Alex Mwangi saying that they're actually launching a new quality food processing plant, well, that maybe perhaps will increase the impetus and the foothold on the ground for KEBS to ensure that that doesn't exist. Well, that is if it does.
Fair enough. Thanks for the business, Laban Clifford Serio. They're giving us the latest in the business world. Of course, we're following